Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com coming to you with a look here at the Final Four matchup between Texas Tech and Michigan State. The late game here in the Final Four. First game, though, by rotation number. Great game coming up here in this one. I think this is a much tougher handicap than the Auburn versus Virginia game, so I got a lot to talk about here in this video preview. We've also got video previews from Kyle Hunter for the Final Four games here. Also, early in the week, had some thoughts from Brian Blessing. We'll have Kyle's thoughts over at BangTheBook.com on Saturday with his daily college basketball picks piece. Baseball in full swing. The Bettors Box every Monday and Thursday is my MLB betting podcast. Then also you can check out my daily picks and tips piece over at BangTheBook.com as well. Speaking of daily picks and tips, Parker Michael's still doing it for the NHL. He'll go through the NHL playoffs here with his thoughts. Those are coming up next week. I believe they start on Wednesday. The regular season ends on Saturday. So it'll be the last day of the regular season for Parker's picks. And also you can check out the YouTube video here from Brian Blessing on the games that matter from a seeding standpoint, division champion standpoint, all kinds of things going on the final day of the regular season in the NHL, which also happens to be the day of the Final Four. You can check out my video on the Auburn versus Virginia game. That one's right here on our Bang the Book YouTube page. Looking here at this Texas Tech and Michigan State game, look, two phenomenal head coaches here in this one. Chris Beard for Texas Tech, Tom Izzo for Michigan State. Izzo obviously proven time and time again in the month of March, and obviously now we're on into April. Chris Beard, what he's done in Lubbock with this Texas Tech program, what he did at Arkansas Little Rock, commands a lot of respect. So if you're going to look for somebody to go head-to-head with Izzo at this point in time in the Final Four, I think in terms of current head coaches, Chris Beard would be that guy. Few keys to this game. Again, I don't think this is a cut-and-dry handicap at all whatsoever. I think you're picking a lot of nits when you handicap this one, but obviously Jarrett Culver against that Michigan State defense. Can Culver create his own shots? Can he get open shots for other people? 31.9% usage rate for Jarrett Culver this season here for Texas Tech. If Michigan State bottles him up, and you'd certainly think that a Tom Izzo team would be able to do that, can somebody else for the Red Raiders make shots? On the other side of the spectrum, look, Cassius Winston's been terrific in this tournament. He's the facilitator for this Michigan State offense. He can go out there and score if he needs to, but also he's a guy that's kind of relying on his teammates a little bit. He needs somebody to step up and make some shots. Maybe it'll be Xavier Tillman that does it here in this one. Maybe it'll be somebody else. But Cassius Winston's going to need some assistance here in this one too, because that Texas Tech defense is suffocating #1 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency, according to Bart Torvik. And again, like I said, we're basically just picking nits with this game. Texas Tech, 8th in three-point percentage defense. Michigan State, 31st. Michigan State is a much better rebounding team than Texas Tech. We'll see if that comes into play with the very tough shooting backdrop here, obviously, in the football stadium. Michigan State, 24th in offensive rebounding percentage, 102nd in defensive rebounding percentage. Not great by any means, but Texas Tech, 189th on offense, 204 on defense. So Michigan State does have the rebounding edge here. And quite frankly, it could be guard play that simply decides this game. And obviously, with Culver going up against Winston, that is the premier battle in this one. Texas Tech, 147th in the country in turnover percentage on offense. Michigan State, 170th. So neither one of these teams rated very well in terms of taking care of the basketball. The difference is Michigan State was 341st in turnover percentage on defense. Texas Tech, 10th in turnover percentage on defense. So the Red Raiders forced a lot more turnovers than Michigan State did. Both teams about even when it comes to taking care of the basketball. Will that wind up being a key to this game? It certainly could. The more chances you give Culver, the better off Texas Tech's going to be. The more chances you give Winston, the better off Michigan State's going to be. Now for Culver here in this game, and this could really have a big impact on the winner of this one, in games against top 50 teams, Culver was only 22 of 82 from three-point range. So this is not a guy who likes to take a lot of long-distance shots. 67.8% of his attempts at the rim he converted. Michigan State, 4th in the country in field goal percentage defense at the rim. So that may be the lone key to this game. I think there are a few things that can decide the outcome, but maybe the biggest key of all the things I've talked about here so far, Jarrett Culver knocking down some shots from the outside or getting guys some open looks if Michigan State collapses on him, and then if those guys make those shots. So very, very good game. I think the Auburn versus Virginia game is kind of more about whether or not Auburn makes shots. I think this game is a much more in-depth and detailed handicap. I think this is one where you really want to look hard and fast at the X's and O's, look at the supporting casts for both of these teams here, and then make your decision. For me, very small lean here to Michigan State minus the 2.5. I think Texas Tech just so dependent on Culver offensively. And Michigan State, look, I mean, Michigan State had everybody. If they had their full complement of players, they'd probably be a 4.5 point favorite here. What Winston has done, what Izzo has done this season in the face of some injuries cannot be overlooked at this time of the year where a lot of guys have been able to elevate their games and elevate themselves. Maybe that's what helps Michigan State to the victory here. So we'll take Sparty minus the 2.5 as the official pick in the video, but this is probably one that you just watch and enjoy because these will be two artists of their coaching crafts in Chris Beard and Tom Izzo going head-to-head, and a couple of very smart, very experienced teams on the floor. Should be a good one here in Minneapolis. But again, Michigan State minus 2.5 would be the lean. I'm Adam Burke for BangTheBook.com.